Hello, brothers and sisters. It's your good friend Bill Hazelwood, and I have some super exciting news coming up for the latest, roughest, and toughest brawls. I'll give you the full rundown at the end of this episode of Devon and the Duke.
Devon and the Duke, bring the heat. Wrestling tales knock you off your seat. Tune in now, don't you be late. Wrestling podcast never felt this great. Tables, ladders, chairs, they tell it all. From the highest highs to the lowest fall. Grit and glory tales from the ring. Every chant, every cheer they'll bring. Devon and the Duke, bring the heat. Wrestling tales knock you off your seat. Tune in now, don't you be late. Wrestling podcast never felt this great.
Brothers and sisters, welcome back. Welcome back to another exciting edition of the three-time award-winning podcast, Devon and the Duke, hosted by your main man, Duke Loves Rasslin, and of course, the Hall of Famer, five-time Hall of Famer, the award-winning podcaster, the man that can sing all the words to Bad Bunny songs, Brother Devon Dudley. What's going on there, man?
I don't know about that. I think if I did say I could, I'd be trending on that. But I doubt that. I like his music, but I can't sing it.
Come on, man. You international Devon. Come on, man. You know Spanish and all that. Come on. You know?
Look, my ex-wife was Spanish from Nicaragua, and the only thing I understood was when she cussed me out.
You picked up on that quick. You picked up on that real
quick. I picked on that quick.
I love it. Well, listen, you watch the Super Bowl just like damn near everybody else on the planet. Before we talk about the game, let's talk about WWE Superstar Bad Bunny. This guy won a bunch of Grammys a week before the Super Bowl, and then he follows that up by having one of the most watched performances in Super Bowl halftime history. And in the performance, he honored a bunch of different cultures from all over the world, and including Puerto Rico, which is part of the United States, for all of you who don't know that. It's not separate. It's part of our country. But overall, man, what did you think of his performance and really the message behind it, that love conquers hate?
Well, I definitely thought it was a political statement. No question. People use a platform like the Super Bowl when there's controversy in the world, or in the United States, I should say, to make a statement, a bold statement. I think that was a statement. And, a lot of the fans, I don't know, I heard there's been a lot of mixed reviews that I've heard, meaning some people loved it and some people hated it. Some was even saying it was the worst Super Bowl performance that had ever been done. I don't agree with that. Again, he used that platform. I think he used it very well. Bad Bunny is, one of the biggest artists out there now. And his music touched a lot of lives. Not to mention, the Grammys was another platform that people use to get their political opinions, the artist that is, out there. And Bad Bunny, he made a statement. I don't remember what it was, but he did make a statement. And I knew after hearing that statement, it was going to be even more that was going to come through the Super Bowl. I was expecting it. It was all, Spanish. In other words, the singing. There was no English, and I know some people were upset about that. I read comments, this is the United States. They should not have done that, let that happen. And I know Trump weighed in on it too, saying it was the worst performance ever in the Super Bowl history. But yet, from my understanding, from what I heard, he didn't even watch it. I think he was being told what had gone on, or maybe he saw a glimpse of it and just said it was the worst performance ever. I actually enjoyed it because I knew right off the bat that it was going to be a political statement. And, to have that platform like the Super Bowl And to be able to do that, I thought it was great. And people say, well, this is a Super Bowl. It's not about political statements. But everybody does it. Doesn't make it right, doesn't make it wrong, but everybody does it. I don't think he went outside the box too much. I mean, with the culture, look, ICE have been targeting Latinos and things like that. Bad Bunny brought it all together, said, listen, we're together. We live here just like you do. You know, are there some people that are illegal here? Probably, most likely, yes. But are there many citizens that are legal? Yes, they're very legal. But the way things are going, in terms of how measures are being taken, the United States, half of the people feel that it's wrong. And I happen to agree the way ICE is doing things in terms of killing people, and that's what's going on now in the United States. I think Bad Bunny did a great job uh, in expressing himself and letting it be known that, hey, we're coming together, not hate, love.
I agree. You said it perfectly, and I agree 100%. And I think that we're seeing a generation of people who are motivated by hatred of others, and they're just having a hard time. It's difficult for them to see any form of parity or equality. It's difficult for them to see people who don't look like them being afforded opportunities that traditionally went to them. And it's interesting to me because the Super Bowl. Look at how many international acts have played the Super Bowl. U2, Coldplay. Like we
Yeah,
can
he
go down
is.
the list, man. Bad Bunny is American. So there shouldn't have been as much controversy and pushback against the biggest. He's the biggest music artist right now.
Hmm.
There's no one bigger than him. There's no one selling more tickets. He won, album of the year and all that stuff. There's no one more successful that's active right now, that's putting out music right now than Bad Bunny.
Right.
So it's only logical to have a person like that, especially if you want to continue to expand your fan base. You really need people like that to help you do that. Now, ironically, in the WWE, isn't that what the company does all the time? Isn't that why the company goes out and finds the top stars from around the world to compete in the company? Isn't that the point?
That is, you're absolutely right. That's what they do. Because if you think about it now, we have more international wrestlers in the WWE and in AEW than ever before. Everybody was American at one point. Now you have people from the UK, just everywhere. And I think that's great. It's not just Americans, it's everybody who loves the sport of pro wrestling that are now given the opportunity to come to the United States and showcase it on two of the biggest platforms in the United States. In other words, the WWE and AEW. I think it's great.
It's fantastic. It's fantastic. And music is universal. The same people complaining that his set was in Spanish and they don't understand Spanish, which is silly because, Jesus, I'm 43 years old, man. We had Spanish and French class going all the way back to when I was in kindergarten.
Mhm.
So the idea that you haven't been exposed to one of the most spoken languages on the planet, I think it's like number 4 on the planet, is just kind of silly. You know what I mean? Especially considering how many Spanish speaking people we have in the United States. So that's a whole other story. But music is universal. You'll go to the opera.
And
Aren't they singing in Italian? They're not singing in English in the opera. It's
right,
like,
exactly. So, and in my opinion, Bad Bunny's music, it was beautiful. No, I did not understand the language, but the music itself was beautiful. And even though I didn't understand the language fit perfectly to me with the song, with the
yeah,
lyrics. I mean, I'm sorry, with the instrumental, with the
the
music.
rhythm. Yeah, yeah.
So, hmm so I personally, enjoyed it.
I'll
I
just
really did.
I'll just say this as a man, and as a man who I love to be surrounded by positive people, especially people having a good time, having a party. especially women. You know, whatever the
Hmm.
ladies are listening to, man, that's what I'm listening to. I don't give a damn what anybody says.
Well, yeah.
If they're dancing to that, so am I. How about that?
Well, I do have a little issue with that a little
Uh
bit,
oh. Uh oh. Uh oh. What's the
and
issue?
well, don't get me wrong, I'm not bashing, but I just can't get into today's music somewhat. A lot of it I can't get into, whether it be rap or R&B. Not all, but just some. And my lady plays it all the time in the car. And I'm like, no, I want to go 90s. I want to go 80s. I want to go early millennium, 2000 to 2014 or 12. I just can't get with a lot of the artistish that is being played right now. And she plays it all the time and it drives me nuts.
Let me ask you this. I'm gonna challenge you now. Since you challenged and defeated me, you destroyed me last week in the only debate we ever had, right? So much so that even in the show graphic, I had to put you up as the champion, and me sitting there with a sourpuss on my face because it was clear that Devon Dudley, uh, worked me over and won there. I was the enhancement talent. Let me ask you this: do you still feel that way about newer songs when your lady is actually, when you're not in the car and you're in a space where she starts dancing to the music? Is it so bad when she starts dancing?
No, that's when I start liking
Gotcha, gotcha.
it. Things start moving and, whatever. And I'm like, okay, all right. Well, I mean, I might not like it, but I can feel it. I'll give it a chance.
Yes, yes. This ain't so bad.
No, it ain't that bad, you know. But I'm so stuck on the old school rap and the old school R&B. I miss people like Luther Vandross,
Yeah,
Freddie
yeah,
Jackson, and the list goes on and on with R&B talent. I miss the days of Eric B and
yeah.
Rakim, EPMD, those guys, um, Brand Nubian. I miss those guys. Something awful. And the music, and of course Tupac and Biggie. That's that. Got to say that. But I miss it so much, and I guess because of the fact that I'm older and I miss yesterday. I think that has a lot to do with it.
Wow,
You
that was
know,
profound.
I'm one of those.
Wow.
Yeah, I'm one of those guys that when I was younger and the older talent used to reminisce about the 70s and 60s, I used to be like, yeah, yeah, that was good music, but today's music is the bomb. I feel like now I'm that older guy that's like, turn that shit off tomorrow. I feel like I'm that guy. you know. My daughter comes in the car, she puts on a song. I'm like, what is this? And she'll tell me the artist. I would like to say the artist, but I don't even remember the artist. And I'm like, baby, this is not music. Let me let you listen to music. And I'll put a song like Eric B and Rakim, you know, and she'd be like, what is this? And I'm like, listen, your brothers had to deal with it when they were growing up. You're gonna deal with it. And then of course I get that sour puss on her face. And then she's like, I'm like, what's wrong? She was like, Daddy, I'm not saying anything wrong, but I just like my music. And of course, I wound up putting it on.
Yeah, yeah. Those be the breaks.
Yep.
Those be the breaks.
There you go, Curtis
You
Bro.
know what I
Curtis
mean?
Blow.
I'll tell you something, man. It's funny that you say that because although you have a couple years ahead of me, I mean, I was born in '82. I always remember the music of that time, and you're around your older cousins and your aunts and your uncles and what have you, so you can't escape it. But here's the trend that always bothers me. I didn't notice it until I wouldn't say the early '90s. I would really say the mid '90s. When did we get to the point in hip hop where everything has to have the N word in it? Just like you said.
That's another, yeah, that's another thing I'm not too, good because, again, rap music has crossed over
Yeah,
into white America as
yeah,
well. And they enjoy the songs, they buy the records. And I think Easy E said it one time in the movie that they did on the NWA when they were taking the NWA's music and they were throwing it in the street and stepping on it and bulldog. They were doing everything to it. And Easy goes, I don't care. They bought that shit, so we still getting paid. I don't
Yeah.
care, you know.
Yeah.
And it's kind of like, it's the same thing. I don't get it, nor do I understand it. Why you got to use that? Because if white people singing the lyrics and they're singing the lyrics, and if they happen to say the N word because it's part of the song, then people want to beat them up.
Yeah.
There's anger
And
there,
I'm
and I'm like,
people.
well, dude,
I want to beat them up.
yeah,
I'm people.
right.
You know.
And it's like, okay, but you put that in the lyrics, they're gonna sing it,
Yeah.
especially if they're enjoying it.
Yeah. Yeah.
And that's the one thing that I've always like, I don't know about that.
It doesn't make sense. And here's the point. It didn't used to always be that way. You brought up Brand Nubian. We start talking about A Tribe Called Quest, and we go back to some of these groups and what have you. They weren't saying the N-word every 2 seconds. Big Daddy Kane wasn't
No,
saying that. You know what I
no,
mean?
Big Daddy Kane was just a poet.
Yeah.
He was just a poet. Him and Eric B, they were
Yeah.
a poet. And not to mention Public Enemy.
Yeah. So
I don't think, I could be wrong, but I don't recall hearing Public Enemy use the N-word at all.
if they did, they used it very little to make the point about racism, but it wasn't like it is today where it's literally a word that connects words.
Yes.
You know what I mean? That's how it's being. If you strip everything away and just say, okay, how many times is this word being used in each song, and when is it being used?
Right.
It's literally a
Yep.
connector word, and it's like, well,
Yep,
damn, why do
exactly.
you can't, of all the words in the dictionary, you can't find anything else? Come on now, come on.
Well, I know when I'm singing the song, and if I know the lyrics, I'm using the word brother.
That's it. That's it.
You know,
That's it.
so that's the word I use when it comes to that. So, again, I don't understand it. It's not me. Again, it's that generation gap that seems to enjoy it. And okay, but again, you can't get mad at a white person if they're singing the lyrics and they say it.
Yeah, it's got to make sense. It's got to make sense. And then when you start getting into who owns the record labels, how much influence do they have about how many times people are saying that word? There's something to it, man. And it bothers me. It's a reason why I can't stand a lot of the newer music. So I'm with you on that. But again, just to put a bow on this segment, if the ladies are dancing to it, I love it. I don't care what it is. If they're dancing to it, I'm in it. so Bad Bunny's always all right with me for that reason. Paramount, 100% right there. You're making them dance, brother. I'm down. Yes, do that.
I'm cool with
Do
it.
that. Now let me ask you this, because I said it and you didn't correct me.
Talk to me.
Bad Bunny.
Mm-hmm.
Bad Bunny's had at least 3 matches in the WWE. One of those matches, he headlined a PLE in Puerto Rico, sold the place out. Massive amount of mainstream media coverage and what have you. Huge success.
Hold on, when you said WWE Superstar?
Yes, when I said WWE
Okay.
Superstar. Because on the website, they have Bad Bunny listed as a WWE Superstar. He has a Superstar page, right? So in the Duke Loves Rasslin private Facebook group that I have, I had identified him as such, and some people push back. Well, he's not really a WWE superstar, and you can't say that. And he's not. No, he's not. And it's like, well, the company identifies him as that, so why wouldn't I? Well, they're just saying that, but he's not really a WWE. Let me ask you, as a Hall of Famer, as an expert,
Mm-hmm.
as a legend, do you consider Bad Bunny a WWE superstar? And if so, or if not, why?
Oh, man. Wow. Yes and no. I consider him a superstar that has been in the WWE. And like you said, he was in the pay-per-view. Did he main event
He
that
main
pay-per-view?
evented against Damian Priest, and they sold out.
Well, there
Puerto
you
Rico,
go.
they sold it out.
Well,
Thanks for the house.
he wasn't just on the pay-per-view,
No,
but he main evented the pay-per-view.
yeah,
And I feel that might give it credibility to saying WWE superstar. And he's wrestled more than one time, correct?
Absolutely. 3 times. 3 times at least he's
Yeah.
wrestled. Yeah.
Who's to say he's not going to come
Oh,
back?
he will. There's 100% he's coming back. No question.
Oh, I definitely believe that. So, in my opinion, I guess you can consider him a a superstar. And I understand why some people are saying no. I get it, but at the same token, you can't deny what he's done
Thanks for the house.
and the stardom that he's brought to it. Listen, he brought in probably it's like a crossover. He brought in people that probably wouldn't normally watch professional
Yeah.
wrestling. You know, whether it be in Puerto Rico or what have you. He's probably one of those guys that has that stardom that he has and crossed it over. Anytime WWE uses guys like that, it's usually a crossover thing.
Yep. Yep.
And whether it be WWE or AEW, it's a crossover thing. So he is a superstar, whether you want to say a superstar in music or the WWE, he is a superstar.
Here's the thing that I focus on. Because like we said, he headlined the PLE. So, everybody got paid more because of that, one way or another, whether it was that night or overall, because the mainstream media coverage as well, that translates into more dollars, ad dollars and things like that. That's literally tens of millions of dollars added that did not exist before then. I think the main thing for me is that who is he? And when he competes in WWE and then afterwards, how does he speak about the experience? The man is always putting over the company, says it's the hardest thing he's ever done, talks about how much respect he has for the superstars, how great athletes they are, how honored he is. So he's a steward, not
Right.
only of the company, but really of pro wrestling. And he's legitimizing the industry by taking it so seriously and speaking so positively and lending his viral nature to it in a positive way. How could we not call him a superstar? You know what I mean?
Well, let me just say, hold on, let me say this. I was on Instagram and something keeps coming up on my feed when I'm looking at different videos. Um, certain wrestlers like Arn Anderson,
Mm.
Dutch Mantel, but the biggest one was Bobby the Brain Heenan. And Heenan said, Heenan brought up a point. He goes, some people are not wrestlers. They're not a worker unless you're putting asses in the
Whew.
seats. And he hit the nail right on the button with that. He was like, I forgot who he was talking about in the very beginning, but he goes, some people say Hogan can't work anymore and this and that, but he goes, you know what? He still puts asses in seats, and that makes him a worker. He also said that somebody said, now, God, who did he say? He said somebody had said something to the effect where I'm getting a brain fart here. I'm trying to think of what he said, but he made perfect sense. Because when he said Hogan puts asses in seats, he goes, and that's all that matters at this point. I can't remember. It'll come to me, but I'll as I keep talking, it'll probably come back to me on what he said. But it's a clip with Bobby the Brain Heenan talking. He talked about the Warrior. He talked about how Andre um, didn't like the Sheik and things like that, and how he would sit on him a certain way because he didn't like how the Sheik treated people. It's a real interesting interview that Heenan did. If you can catch it, please watch it. But he hits the truth so much about people calling themselves a worker or a wrestler, but you're not that until you put asses in the seats. Well, guess what? He helped sell that place out. If it wasn't for him, in terms of Bad Bunny, then they probably may not have. I'm not saying they wouldn't have, but they may not have sold out the way they did. And the publicity that came with it. He was a box office draw.
No question.
So, don't hate him. Don't hate him because he just came in the way he did. Nowadays, everybody that comes in now is not coming in the old school way. You know, things have changed, times have changed. You're either going to jump on the bandwagon or get off.
And
It's as simple as that.
which would you rather
With the
have? Would you
knowledge,
rather have
I'm
somebody who
sorry,
can draw and bring in that kind of money so you can actually pay more people who do it the way you like? Or would you rather go without that? Right?
right? And I think Vince was the perfect guy to realize to take the stars from outside of wrestling and turn them into
Yeah.
wrestlers. For whether it be one pay per view, one match. Point in case, Mr. T. Nobody's putting Mr. T as a WWE superstar, but think about it. If it wasn't for Mr. T coming in and doing what he did with Roddy Piper, we would have no WrestleMania.
Save the company.
We would not have had a WrestleMania.
Yeah.
But see, today's young people don't see that. They don't know their history.
Mm.
They don't know how we got to the level that we are right now.
It's true. It's true. And that part of it is sad because history should not
Yes.
forget the pioneers, the people who laid the foundation
No.
to make it possible for this thing to keep going the way that it has. You know what I mean?
You know what? Let me just say this. Let me say this. Whenever I'm at a wrestling event, whether I was still active or what have you, and somebody came in from the old school days that I knew and watched, I gave them the utmost respect. Because if it wasn't for them, we wouldn't be where we are today. And I remember Killer Kowalski, who trained China and Triple H and Matt Bloom, used to come to Boston at the Boston Arena all the time. And he would sit down in catering and eat. They would give him the royal treatment, which was great because he's Killer Kowalski. Not to mention, I would sit down, and after a couple of times, he got to know me in terms of remembering my name and stuff like that. And I would be like, hey, Killer, how you doing? He'd be like, hey, Devon, how you doing? And blah, blah, blah. And he would start talking and start saying things that was knowledgeable. I didn't go, hey, Killer, I got to go. I don't have time, blah, blah. I sat there and listened because he was a fountain of information, something that I needed to learn to get ahead in this business. Pat Patterson used to talk me and Bubba's ears off. He would love it because Pat had so much information that he would love to basically um, just talk about yesterday and how things occurred. Me and Bubba learned a lot from him, not just being in the ring, but in the car rides to the next venue. Or if Pat, went out to dinner with us after the show, we would sit there for hours and talk wrestling. And it made me so knowledgeable on how this business really works. I thank God for it. Because without Pat Patterson, without Killer Kowalski, without guys like Bruno Sammartino and guys like that have come before me, and even Hogan, in a sense, would tell me stories, you know, we wouldn't be where we are today. And I think that's what the generation is missing. Learning where you came from, how you got there, and where you're going to go from there. I think that's very important, especially for today's youth, because again, you got to know where you came from before you go where you're going.
Well said. Well said. It's crazy because as you're saying that, talking about a veteran being in a place and the younger guys showing respect and what have you, I just think of the Devon Dudley documentary on your YouTube channel, and I think of Carmelo Hayes, who's now the U.S. champion in WWE, and I think of Ali. Those guys showed you so much respect.
Carmelo Hayes would pull me aside when I was at the PC. He would talk my ear off, asking me questions. Hey, what up, OG? He would never call me Devon in a sense unless he had to. He'd be like, yo, OG, how did this work back then? How did that work? I'm just trying to get my feet wet enough to where I can do this the right way. How did this work? And we would sit down in the PC for hours and talk. Ali was the same way. When I had his matches, when I was producing on the main roster, he would pull me aside and ask me, what was it like back in the Attitude Era or the ECW days? And I would sit there and I would talk to him. We would somewhat get in trouble because we realized doors were opening and we never went over what we were supposed to go over.
That's funny.
So, but it was great, to be able for me to be able to give that knowledge to someone that's eager to learn and want to learn the ins and out of the business, because it's not just what you do in there, it's what you do outside. So many people get in trouble for their actions outside of the ring, or they get in trouble for saying the wrong thing to somebody that you shouldn't have said in terms of higher ups. I've seen that done so many times, especially when you have a higher up that's a complete asshole that may not like you for whatever reason. How do you work around that? How are you able to compensate by not getting yourself in trouble by saying the wrong thing? And I tell people all the time, just because you and I said this and I use this with a lot of my students, understand one thing. Just because you make Vince McMahon laugh and smirk at something you might have said that was funny, don't get it twisted. He's still your boss. Don't think he should be your friend and now you guys are buddies and you're gonna kumbaya together. He's still your friend. I'm sorry, he's still your boss. He's still gotta make tough decisions, even when it's concerning you as his talent. It may not be something that you want, but it's something that you might have to endure because that's the way Vince sees it. I sat under the learning tree of Paul Heyman and Tommy Dreamer for the first, oh man, I'm going to say 5 years. I was only there for 5.5 years in ECW, but I rode with Tommy Dreamer and Paul Heyman because we lived so close together. They were in Yonkers at the time. Paul's in Scarsdale, and I was in New Rochelle. And Dreamer would go pick up Paulie, and he had Beulah with him at the time because they would all be in the same vicinity. So he'd pick up Paul and then come down to New Rochelle, which was right along the way, and come pick me up. And I would hear conversations between them and how certain talent would mess up and what they were going to do to um and what they would do to kind of, their punishment or their, whatever. So I learned what not to do in a situation and how to compensate if I did mess up. How can I fix this? How can I make them, my bosses, not want to fire me, or me being a bad light and get beat within 5 seconds every time I get in the ring? I learned from these guys. So I was always told by Johnny Rods, and I got great stories from Johnny too, keep your eyes and ears open and your mouth shut, because if you're getting into a business that you have no knowledge of and how to do it, learn from the people that got there before you. And that was the one thing that I had always done. Whether it be Bam Bam Bigelow, Ravishing Rick Rude, Tommy Rich, Tommy Rogers. I mean, I just sat under the learning tree so much, which is why I think I got to where I am, because I learned what not to do and what to do.
Well said. Well said. Taking the knowledge being passed down to you and doing something with it, huge, huge, huge,
Yeah.
huge. Um, let's stay.
And never to the point where I would say, "Oh, these guys are old. They don't know what they're talking about. They got to get with the new generation." Sure, even during the Attitude Era, from the Hogan and Andre, the Flair and Dusty era, going to the Attitude Era, things had changed. Absolutely, it did. And some of these guys were stuck in the old ways and this and that. But what I did was I took the old ways and combined it with the new ways. and that's how I got myself out of a lot of jams, and I knew what not to do, and that's how I stayed out of trouble for so long, because I learned. You hear the stories about people from the past and what they did. It's like, wow, you know, how the hell did they get out of that jam or whatever? And you learn. You know, you've never heard me getting arrested. You never heard anything bad about me in the business. I've always tried to stay, straight and narrow. Did I have my fun and what have you? Absolutely, I did. But never to the point where the police were involved or embarrassed my family. Nothing like that.
It's interesting because people have reached out and they say, "Hey, are you and Devon going to do a Black History Month episode and what have you?" And I keep saying, "Look, we're making Black history every single time we air." So
Yeah.
you know what I mean? Like that, just the fact that we are doing this show and we won 3 awards, top 5% of all listened to podcasts in the world, 2 Black men, independently owned. This is history that we're making every single time. You know,
Hmm.
I I will ask you this though, because we just talked about Carmelo Hayes. We've seen you with Trick Williams. We've talked about Lash
Trick is
Legend.
another one.
Yep.
Trick is another one who's sat down and said, yo, OG, how, he's asked me questions, and it's been great. I even gotten phone calls from him, and I was shocked when he asked me to be in that video he did, where I played Reverend Devon, and he was like, "What other person to use but you?" He was like, regardless of what happened and what they did with that character, I love the character, and that's what I get from a lot of people. They love the character, but the one person that didn't like the character, after we started filming and doing whatever we were doing, was Vince. He woke up one morning and decided, nope, don't want it. That's it, and it went south.
But again, you got it over so much that all these years later, people still talk about it. So that tells you everything
Yeah.
you need to know about that character. But like we said, Mello, Trick. Last week you talked about the former powerhouse Hobbs. Keys now.
Hmm.
Lash Legend. We talked about Bianca Belair, Jade Cargill, Obafemi, Javon Evans, who's tearing it up. When you look at all of these young, talented Black wrestlers, and you see
Right.
how they are grabbing the brass ring, as Vince McMahon would say, and they're really, they're making money for the company. There's no question. These are top stars, and they're getting bigger and bigger each week. The fact that you had to sacrifice what you did, and you've done all that you've done, and you follow the lead of guys like Ron Simmons and Butch Reed and et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. How does it feel,
Oh, I
man?
don't mean to cut you off. I don't mean to cut you off, but I'm gonna get to that question. I'm gonna come back. But Ron Simmons was a definite guy that helped me. The car rides that we took, I can't leave Ron out. That's why I gotta go back to this. The car rides that we had, man, he helped me so much listening to him, how to handle what was going on with the Reverend Devon character. He calmed me down in so many aspects that if it wasn't for Ron and Rikishi, I don't know what would have happened to me, because I probably would have flipped my lid and went off on somebody back then, but they kept me grounded.
S-
They really kept me grounded, which is why, when I came back to WWE and they put us in the program with the Usos, I remember Jay coming to me and saying, you know, Devon, I just thank you a lot for everything that you're doing. Because I forgot the match and what it was for. And he was like, good looking out. I mean, he was really, really grateful. And especially as a producer. And he just said, man, I just want to thank you for everything that you're doing for me and my brother. I said, listen, if it wasn't for your father helping me out during the Reverend Devon days, I don't know where I would have been.
mm.
If it wasn't your fault, if it wasn't for your father being so good to me when I met him, I don't know where I would be. I said, so here's the deal. Your father did it for me. I'm going to do it for you if I can. And that's the way it went down with the Usos. And that's why we became as good friends as we were, because, again, Rikishi did it for me, I'm gonna do it for them.
And you're basically answering the question I have then. How does it feel? Talk to me about the pride of being that veteran who's passing down the knowledge, not just to everybody, but especially the wrestlers of color and especially the black wrestlers, man.
Well, I hate it somewhat because I'm getting old. So for you to come to me and say that, to ask you for that knowledge, I'm like, man, am I that old? You're getting knowledge from me? Jesus. No, but it feels good, because people take what I say and they learn from it. I never thought of myself as being a teacher of anything. I remember when I first opened up the school, it was Bubba with the knowledge of, which is why he's so good now. He absorbed it like a sponge. You know, in terms of how to teach the students and how to teach them how to wrestle and this and that. And as we would have the students do matches. And then after the matches were over, Bubba would critique first, and then I would sit there and listen to him and see the points that he was, making to help these young guys. And that's when I caught on. So I was listening. I wasn't ashamed of it, because when Johnny taught me how to wrestle, he taught me how to do the basics. He taught me basic psychology for the 70s and early 80s. He never taught me the psychology that we use now today. So I learned from, like I said, all the people that I mentioned before, and believe it or not, working with Bubba, and it just caught on to now. I just started doing it by myself. And again, that if that doesn't prove sitting back and listening and watching and paying attention, I don't know what would. Because again, I wasn't at that level, and Devon Dudley Academy is still going strong. So, I learned something even in my old age, as I started to get up in age and this and that, I was still learning. You're never too old to learn. You're never too old to learn. You just keep going and going.
Damn right. That's a very good point. Because here's the thing, man, and Devon, you're very modest about this. I'm gonna say it. I need to put that on a T-shirt. I'm gonna say it. That was another thing that you were laughing when I said that last week. People were cracking up over that. There are people from all the different promotions who, whether they are active students at your school or not, you open your doors and you allow people to get their training in at your school. And I'm talking, it's not just WWE people, folks. There are a bunch of AEW people that pass through and do their thing at Devon's school. They're TNA people, whatever, man. Um, and more importantly, they do come to you for mentorship, and they do have questions, and they want your perspective. That type of trust does not come out of thin air. The word is out that you're a person who has knowledge and you don't mind passing it down. And most importantly, you're not going to judge them. No question is a stupid question. You genuinely, I can't tell you how many people have told me, like, I like going to Devon, man, because he'll give it to me straight, and I know I can trust him. Like, he doesn't look down on me if I ask him a question about something I just don't know. And I can't ask everybody, but I can ask him. That's your reputation, bro. I don't know if you knew that or not, but it's the word is out on you. I heard about you.
Well, again, whether you came from AEW, whether you came from Glow, it didn't matter. If you wanted me to help you, then I was going to help you. And my doors were always open. So I never shunned anybody away. I was just always there. And that was the way I wanted the school to be. I didn't want people to think any less of the academy. So for all of those guys in AEW that came through the doors, and there's been quite a few guys that came through the doors. Thank you for the kind words. I appreciate that. But again, if you need help and I know you're in trouble, I'm going to be there to help you. It's just as simple as that. One of the great things about it, Oba Femi came into the school. He used to come to the school a couple of times. And I just used to look at him and go, good God, this man is big.
what the hell am I going to do with this man? Because my students were average, but he never complained. He came in there, he did what was asked of him, and he did it good. He did it really well. And so I was very happy to be able to, have him come down to the school and work out with some of the students at the time. And this is when he first came into NXT, So again, it feels great to know that these people are speaking very highly of me and that they're very grateful for the knowledge and what I've done for them, as they're at this level. Again, Carmelo Hayes, love that guy. Love him to death. He's the first one. Every time I see him, yo, OG, what's up? What's the knowledge for the day? And he puts me on the spot like you. When you ask me for what the word is for the day, I got to think in my head. I'm like, all right, come back to me in about 10 minutes. I'll give you the knowledge of the day. And during the um, Bound for Glory, during the documentary, he was all praises. He was like, man, you have no idea. I'm like a kid in a candy store, like watching you and the Hardys go at it again. He's like, you have no idea how excited I am for this match. And this is a guy that's already in NXT, he's already in WWE main roster doing his thing. And, he didn't have to say that, but he did. And again, I guess that just goes to show you the knowledge or the respect, the knowledge that I have that they're taking seriously and just the respect that they have for me. So I'm very grateful for each and every one of them that have come to you and have said that, and each and every one of them that's come to me and said it.
It kind of reminds me of that skit where it says, "Hey, if you want to piss off an older black man, just say this. Oh, I heard about you." And the dude say, "Yeah, well, you heard right. What you gonna do about it?" So I heard about you, Devon. All right. the
A lot of times, Duke, a lot of times I'll sit here, and I'll sit there and say, I don't get my flowers. You know, I don't get, I feel like I don't get it, because of everything that I put into, to this business and everything that I've done, even, and I spoke to you about this, when they didn't put me on the poster as to represent, African Americans for Black History Month, and it was like time and time again, I was upset. It was like every year that went by when I was there, I never saw my face on there. So it kind of bothered me a little bit. I'm like, what, did I not accomplish good things as an African American in this wrestling business? And people at the time who had just got into the wrestling business, who were, who had just got there, basically was put on the poster. And I'm like, and I would say to myself, I say, they didn't accomplish nearly what I've accomplished so far. Is it because I'm with a white guy and we're forming a tag team called the Dudley Boys? I don't get it. Why? Is it because Bubba has a Confederate flag as a bandana? I'm like, I didn't get it. I didn't understand it. And to this day, I still don't, but it's okay. I'm not upset about it, but I'm just like, okay, what am I not doing right for me to represent, black people in the wrestling business? But again, I don't need the company in itself to do that. Stories like what you just told me, and stories from Carmelo Hayes, Trick Williams, Oba, Shelton Benjamin for that matter, guys like that have come to me and said thank you, for everything that you've done for me. That's more than enough that I need right there.
Well, and I think that, first of all, no one can tell you how to feel about anything because you're living it. So by no means will I ever, try to impede on that. But I will say this, brother. The fact that every time we record, people genuinely enjoy what you have to say and are interested in what you have to say so much that it ends up being one of the top stories of the week each week in pro wrestling. And some of our stuff crosses over into mainstream media and things like that. I think, I mean, brother, those are some pretty serious flowers at this stage in your career to still be that newsworthy, no matter what any company says or does or how they feature you. The fact that the fans are responding this way, I it I hope you understand the gravity of that. That's all I'll say, because it's not common.
No, and I do. And I do. That's why I say I don't really look at the company at itself. Any company in itself. You know, um, again, ECW pretty much didn't have that. I remember a couple of times, the few just about maybe the other time they featured me, but it was kind of like, that was good. But then when I went out, anytime I went outside of ECW, it was just totally different. It was totally different. And that's why I love Paul Heyman, because he recognized me for truly who I am in this business. And Paul knew my struggles in getting to where I am today. Paul was there. Paul was instrumental. Look, there was a point in time where I couldn't even do a promo. Okay. And nowadays, if you can't do a promo when you come into the wrestling business for a tryout, they don't even bother with you. But we did a promo on, oh man, I forgot what it was. I know it had to do with Michael Jordan, Madonna, and everything. It was like when Madonna was pregnant and this and that. I mean, he had me. Yeah, it was a really good promo. But when I tell you it took 25 takes to get it right, it took 25 takes to get it right. It took 25 takes to get it right. And Paul sat there and worked with me. He coached me, and even though the camera guys and maybe even Joey Styles was getting frustrated, because I don't blame him. 25 takes, who wouldn't? But Paul was there, worked me, says, "You're gonna do it. Every single time. You got this, you got this, you got this. Just relax." He knew my struggles to get to where I am today. So, guys like Paul Heyman, I love to death, and I'll never turn on Paul. Never. Because I know what Paul did for me. Sure, we had some financial difficulties in ECW at the time and during this and that, but I can tell you what, Paul always took care of me. And I will always be grateful for that man for what he's done for me.
It's incredible to hear you unprompted talk about Heyman and always put him over the way that you do. It really is incredible, because it's not like I'm asking you about him. You never miss a beat to give Paul his flowers.
Nope, because I mean, again, Paul made me a star. The WWE made me a superstar. But without becoming a star, I would have never became a superstar.
Wise words. Wise words. Well, shout out to Happy Heyman. Man, you get put over a lot on this show, brother. I don't know if you heard it yet or not, but man, you'll live forever. Because Devon certainly never misses a beat, talking about how instrumental you've been in his career, and to this day, you and Paul are still very close, right?
Absolutely. Whenever I, you know, start thinking about the past or what have you, or I need a question or an answer to be answered, I call him. He'll call me back right away.
I love it. I love it. That's the way it should be, man. When you have good people who are mentors and who open doors, who support you, and have proven that they have your best interest at heart, you got to hold on to those people. Got to hold on to them. You know, so that's good stuff. Because
Yeah.
again, as your relevancy continues to grow, you know, Paul, as time goes on, we start to fade. The fact that people like yourself, when you're at the height of your I guess popularity, best way to say it, you keep going viral and what have you. The fact that you always take time to acknowledge Paul Heyman, that's deep, man, and that helps him in ways that you probably don't even realize. You know what I mean? To think that a guy like Paul Heyman needs any help, he may not necessarily need it in the short term, but long term, the more that you talk about that person, the stronger you keep him. So that's a big deal. It's a big deal. Anyway, Devon, what's the best way that everyone can keep up with you and all the goings on in the Dudleyville, so to speak?
Well, of course, I always say it. Testify Devon on Instagram. That's my main source. I do have a Twitter. I do go on it every once in a while, but not as often. That's at Testify Devon. My Facebook is private, so if you do see my Facebook, unfortunately, I cannot accept any friends, any fans, or anything like that because it's only for my close family and friends. Because I have private pictures of family gatherings that I don't want to get out. Other than that, and then of course the DDA site for Devon Dudley Academy, 2720 Forsyth Road, Winter Park, Florida. We're open Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesday from 5:30 p.m. to 10 p.m. So if you really want to take your wrestling career to the next level and you're at that point in stage where you've done everything you possibly can, let us try to help you and get to where you need to be. And even for the beginners, so come on down, give us a call, and or go to our website at devondudley.com and let us know what you like.
Damn right. Damn right. And I'm telling you, folks, you got to sign up. If you have a dream of becoming a pro wrestler, why not learn from one of the greatest of all time? No question about it. Duke Loves Rasslin on Facebook, on X, Duke Loves Rasslin at gmail.com. Let me know what you think of the show, any questions, all that good stuff there. On the Duke Loves Rasslin show, I just interviewed 8 out of the original 9 members of the original Team USA women's bobsled. So they reached out, invited me to do that. Interviewing 8 people at one time was crazy, but we did it, and it was a great time. And we're coming up on episode 500 of Duke Loves Rasslin, folks. We're also coming up on a 10-year anniversary of the brand. So a lot of exciting stuff happening. The fact that Devon and the Duke is part of the family is just so tremendous. The best days continue to be ahead. And it's because you wonderful fans keep tuning in. Damn right.
Absolutely.
Damn right. And Devon, I'm telling you, I won't stop saying this. I promised you we were going to change the way people spoke about you. And it warms my heart every single day when I look it up and I see what people say about you and I compare it. I compare the stats to what was happening previously. And it's like, bro, I'm telling you, man, you got that adrenaline shot in the arm and you haven't looked back. It's amazing.
Well, good. Again, thank you to all the fans that appreciate what I do and what I say and what I have done. I got nothing but love for you guys and even for the haters. You know, the more you hate, the more you put my name out there, and the more, um, you know, I basically get heard. So continue that as well.
Testify.
My brother, that's the word of the day right there.
It sure is. Wow, what an excellent episode of Devon and Duke there. As always, Hall of Famer Devon Dudley, that's my main man. We have so much fun. And again, folks, I really appreciate you listening, sharing, keeping the word going here, because we're just getting started. There's so much more to come. And really, sky's the limit, for sure. We're going to do something a little different here. We are going to turn the mic over to a very dear friend of mine, someone who has been on the Duke Loves Rasslin podcast a lot, and you folks can't get enough of him. You know what? Let me show him. Let me show him around the other side of the track, so to speak. Let me show him the Devon and the Duke side of the tracks there, and see if he likes the new studio, so to speak. So without further ado, the man with the golden voice, Brother Bill Hazelwood. What's going on there, Bill?
Duke, it's going great as always. Any better than I'd be twins. But, I want to thank you for, bringing me on Devon and the Duke, to just be mentioned in the same sentence with a WWE Hall of Famer is really something. I thank you from the bottom of my heart.
Well, listen, you're being mentioned in the same sentence as a WWE Hall of Famer, 3-time award-winning podcaster, and this is the first episode on the Duke Loves Rasslin Network after I just interviewed the original members of Team USA Women's Bobsled. So, Bill, you got a lot of big timers around here, man. What are you going to do with all this newfound fame that is being foisted upon you?
Man, I'm gonna take this recording to my banker and see how much money he'll loan me.
You say, listen, look at the kind of company that I keep. That's got to be worth something, right?
Yeah, that's it. That's a financial statement. Look at this, man. Gee whiz, you've been living under a rock. Man, this is the Duke Loves Rasslin Network. This is the Devon and Duke show. He's interviewed the original women's bobsled team. Rumor has it that, the next president of the United States wants to be on there. Why do I need to fill out a credit app?
That's right. That's right. I'm Bill Hazelwood. I got a standing invitation on that show. Come on.
Yeah, I'm Bill Hazelwood, man. You don't know me, you better get Google. Here, let me Google it for you.
Exactly. Listen, Bill, I have missed your voice, man. It is so great to have you back. It's so wonderful, and I know you got some great stuff to share with us. But truly, though, man, the listeners love you. They love when they hear you come on and talk your stuff. So, from the bottom of my heart, brother, welcome back.
Thank you so much. And I want to publicly thank you for not only bringing me on the show, but I've been in the announce world for 24 years. Wrestling, MMA, cage fighting, pay-per-views, roughest and toughest brawl. And I tell people, man, I don't have a lot of friends. I know a lot of people. And I want to thank you publicly for checking on me after my stroke in July and checking on me after my fall in September. From the bottom of my heart, man, I consider you a friend. And, I can't thank you enough. I really do. I'm doing a lot better. I'm not looking for any sympathy. It's life's lesson is life is hard, but life goes on. So I want to thank you, Duke, for not only bringing me on, but also keeping a good check on me.
My brother, it's not about who's there when the times are great. It's about who sticks around no matter what the times are. So we're locked in for life, brother, for sure.
Thank you.
For sure. So what do you got to share with us, though, man? I know you got some exciting news here.
Man, I've got 3 exciting announcements. It's the roughest and toughest brawl season coming up. And, a lot of people are asking us, when are you coming back to this town or when are you coming back to that town? I want to explain to people our business model is we release the town dates somewhere between 30 and 40 days before we come to the town. And that's to not be able to give anybody an unfair advantage on, training and all this other stuff and everything. So the next 2 big events we've got coming up is our great little town up in western North Carolina, Waynesville, North Carolina, man. We have been going there for years, and they just show up and show out. That's February the 27th and 28th. You can look at the roughest and toughest brawl.com. But up in that part of the world, they had that hurricane a couple of years ago, and we were a little worried when we came back several months after that. But they needed a break from reality. They needed an escape, and they showed up and packed that place to the rafters. So we're back again this year. Could not be more excited about going to Waynesville February the 27th and 28th, because those people, we've been going there, I think, well over 10 years, and there are, I'd say, at least a dozen fighters that have never, ever won the brawl there, but they come back every year, strap on those gloves, put on that headgear, get checked in, and fight their heart out. Because like you and I said before, we described the roughest and toughest brawls business model. It's to help these guys live out a dream, to mark something off their bucket list, or to see if they got it, to see if they've got that testicular fortitude, to step in there. And I always tell the guys in the back, there are no losers in this dressing room. People in the crowd can sit out there, they get to boo, they get to cheer because they bought tickets. But there are no losers in the brawl, because these guys are 100% amateurs. No professional background allowed at all. So Waynesville 27th and 28th is going to be simply amazing. But following that, which may be hard to follow, that sounded pretty good even from me. is March the 27th and 28th in Rainsville. That's just like the rain, Rainesville, Alabama. We are going to introduce something we've never done with the brawl. It's going to be called the Southern Nationals. Everybody from every town is certainly the baddest guy or the baddest gal on Saturday night, and they get that beautiful belt and they get that gold medal, and we pay them in cash, and they are the toughest, roughest brawler in their neck of the woods. But in Rainsville, Alabama, March 27th and 28th, we are going to truly find out who the baddest SOBs in the South are. Duke, if you're ready for this, we are going to get 20 fighters from Alabama, 20 fighters from Tennessee, 20 fighters from Georgia, 20 fighters from North Carolina, and 20 fighters from South Carolina, and we are going to put them together in the DeKalb County Coliseum. They're on Main Street in Rainsville. It's going to be live on pay-per-view on FightForItCompany.com. You can Google Fight For It. There's a Fight For It app, FightForItCompany.com, and we are going to really, really, really find out who the baddest guys and the baddest girls in the South are. That we are just stoked to the rafters over these next two shows because Waynesville helps us out and does a tremendous thing, but something the Southern Nationals never been done. Never been done before because there's usually limits, 75 miles within the venue, so people don't accuse us of bringing in a ringer or whatever. But we're going to drop it down, brother, to where those 5 states can be represented, and we're going to put them on television. And on Saturday night, when they make it to the main event, I always joke, I'm going to put them over on the microphone like the champions they are, and we're going to find out who the baddest fighters in the South is March the 27th and 28th.
My goodness, that's what I'm talking about. Literally the roughest, toughest brawl, the baddest of the bad out there, showing their stuff. Become the hometown hero. For sure. It's a great time. Great action. I know you fans have been reaching out to me. Some of you fans think that I'm the roughest, toughest brawl guy. I got to let you know. No. I'm just a guy who brings Bill on to advertising. You know? So he's the guy, and the rest of the team that they have over there for sure. So you can check them out not only on the website but also social media. Stay ahead of it. Get your tickets now. Do not wait. Especially those VIP packages, right, Bill?
Absolutely. The ringside reserved seats, as I always joke, puts you 5 feet from the ring and 10 feet from the violence. And for those who don't understand, there are a lot of tough man contests out there, and there are certainly some great groups running, but a lot of these tough men are one night. Okay? You show up, you win your fight, you get paid a little bit of money. Okay? Which, again, there's no losers. But the roughest and toughest brawl is 2 nights. You win on Friday and pretend you're a heavyweight, just making that up, or middleweight, or light heavyweight, whatever category you're in. You come back Saturday night, based on the number of fighters there, you have to fight multiple times in your weight division. So we feel like that our fighters are just on a different plane than these other groups because it takes a hell of a man, buddy, to fight 5 times or 4 times in 2 days. So the roughest and toughest brawl, like I've always said, it can't be explained, only experienced. I mean, it'll be great on pay-per-view, March 27th and 28th, but there is nothing like being in person because they've got some loud-mouth, washed-up announcer named Bill Hazelwood sitting at ringside, and I am, maybe you have to beat this out, Duke, I am talking pure shit for 3 or 4 hours, agging these guys on. I'm like the 10-year-old in the school playground convincing them to fight harder. So it's an experience because there's brawl merchandise, great food, great camaraderie, but it's that 2-day event, and my goal is to entertain the crowd, give the crowd more than their money's worth, but to make those fighters truly feel like the champions that they really are, because it takes a hell of a man and a hell of a woman to step in there and strap up and never fight before. I mean, it really does.
I love it. I love it 100%. Once again, roughest, toughest brawl. Get your tickets now, folks. Do not wait. This will sell out for sure. Now, Bill, I know that you have another special gift for us. Since you're bearing gifts, it's literally Christmas in February here. What else you got for us?
Absolutely. Well, this is going to be Christmas in June. You know, I started my roots 24 years ago. It's my 25th year started. March the 15th will be my 25th year in pro wrestling. And, you know, there's the big boys on TV with unlimited budgets and things like that. But I've had an association with a little group here in Greenville for 4 years. It's called AWL Pro Wrestling. You can look them up on social media. I think they're on TikTok and Facebook. And, of course, they run indie, what we call indie events, but they have a production. He has fire cannons, smoke machines, lasers, lights, ring entrance, great sound, and, of course, great wrestling. The show we ran back in January, the fans, hundreds and hundreds of fans showed up. We had to put out an additional 200 chairs. They were floored at the production because the cost of the tickets were between $10 and $25. And we've got a couple shows coming up between now and then. But what I am stoked to the rafters about, I think it's June the 6th, okay? And if you haven't never heard of this young man, you can certainly go on social media and see it. His name is Santana Jackson. He not only headlines the Michael Jackson tribute show in Las Vegas for the last 9 years, which was voted the #1 Michael Jackson tribute show in America. Santana Jackson was voted Entertainer of the Year by winwinentertainment.org, or their organization, I'm sorry. But he also, you ready for this, Duke? He also wrestles. He has been a lifetime wrestling fan, okay? So we had him come in a couple of years ago at a show. He did a phenomenal job. But June the 6th at the Market of the Mill Event Center in Pickens, South Carolina, which is near Greenville, okay, which happens to be 2 hours from Charlotte, 2 hours from Atlanta. So if you're within 100 to 150 miles of the sound of my voice, you are going to experience something you've never, ever, ever seen before. Even if you've been to Vegas and seen his experience. June the 6th, Santana Jackson, for the first time ever, will be performing on stage his tribute to Michael Jackson, his Las Vegas show, live and in person in the upstate of South Carolina. And later on that night, he will also be wrestling. So I always joke with people, show up, bring a neighbor, bring a friend, bring an enemy, bring your wife, bring your girlfriend. If you bring your wife and your girlfriend, please make sure they sit in different sections. I have seen that cause problems. But AWL Pro Wrestling puts on a phenomenal show with a phenomenal production, because everybody knows that the bigger shows, unfortunately, not to mention any names, but, you know, they're the #1 in the world. Their ticket prices has gotten a little exorbitant. You know, the normal fan is kind of being pushed back, and it is what it is because it's just business. But AWL Pro Wrestling is not raising their ticket prices for this show. The VIP section is $25. The reserved ringside is $20. Second row is $15, and general admission is $10. You will never, ever, ever in your life experience something like this for that type of money anywhere in the world, I don't think. And we've got some great local sponsors that have helped us out with this. But, Duke, if it's okay, I want to mention one, because he is our official apparel company for AWL Pro Wrestling, and he does business all over the country. It's the Swag Kings. Yeah. It's the Swag King, okay? Their website is theswagkings.com. He has printed us some phenomenal shirts, hoodies, and things like that. And the thing that blew me away, because you can get T-shirts anywhere at any show, any concert or whatever, but the quality of what he sells for the price that he sells them at, I was floored. So that's theswagkings.com. Not only that, they are amazing, amazing wrestling fans. There is a video on my Facebook page of Bill Hazelwood that his daughter filmed at the last show, showing the flamethrowers and all this other stuff and the fire cannons and everything. So they're coming to the shows, bringing signs. they're experiencing that big show wrestling events for just a minuscule amount of money. So June the 6th, man, you guys need to mark it down. It'll be worth driving from Atlanta. It'll be worth driving from Charlotte. It'll be worth driving from Columbia, South Carolina, because he's never, ever done this before. We double checked with him. Nowhere in the country has Santana Jackson ever performed his Las Vegas show and wrestled at the same time. So I'm just super excited about those three events. And like I said, you get to show up and you get to see this little loudmouth, washed up, had 2 heart attacks, now had a stroke, announcer in person, and hopefully I can shake your hand and take your picture and all that good stuff. People say, are you famous? I go, no, but I've hung out with a bunch of famous people, including Duke Loves Rasslin.
His name is Bill Hazelwood. He is the man with the silver tongue, the golden voice. And I'm telling you right now, there is no one that I trust more to deliver the message of the best sports and entertainment going on today. I'm telling you, folks, it's a great value, whether we're talking roughest, toughest brawl, or we're talking pro wrestling, the whole 9 yards there. If Bill is there, you need to be there. Say it one more time, Bill. Across the board, how can folks get tickets?
They can get tickets at AWL Pro Wrestling. Now, those will not go on sale until April the 7th because there's 2 shows in between there. They can get tickets for the Roughest and Toughest Brawl, of course, at the roughestandtoughestbrawl.com. Okay? And then I'll send you a link because, unfortunately, like I said, I had a small stroke back in July, and my memory's not well, so I forgot to write down the link to the AWL tickets, but I'll send it to you, and if you can share it on your website, that'll be great because I'm telling you, it takes a lot to get me excited anymore in the wrestling business because I've literally announced everybody everywhere, kind of done everything a half a dozen times, but I'm telling you, I am stoked. The biggest reason is I always joke that, I always got to tell corny jokes. This show's 30 minutes from my house. That's why I really like it. But also, everything that I said about AWL Pro Wrestling and their production is top notch. Jimmy Ward and Gavin Ward and Casey Leanne, they are the promoters, bookers, and all that stuff. They have put their money where their mouth is. I'm not afraid to tell you, their setup is somewhere between $40,000 and $50,000 on an independent show. So to be able to see a Las Vegas event and the ticket prices not go up is unbelievable. And, of course, the Roughest and Toughest Brawl, it always delivers. 18 years together with Money Mike Productions. It can't be explained on experience, but it's 2 nights of guys fighting 100% on heart. So to wrap it up with it, that's February the 27th and 28th in Waynesville, North Carolina. March 27th and 28th, the Southern Nationals there in Rainsville, Alabama, where we bring fighters in from 5 states and let them beat the hell out of each other for 2 nights. And then June the 6th, Santana Jackson headlining AWL Pro Wrestling in Greenville, South Carolina. Once again, can't be explained, only experienced. All my catchphrases, 5 feet from the ring, 10 feet from the violence. Come say hi. Tell them you heard about it on Duke Loves Wrestling on the Devon and Duke show. This is your friend Bill Hazelwood. Until we meet again.
Strictly for the culture every day. Step in style in your unique way. Patterns and colors so defined. All about the perfect line. Be yourself, let your spirit fly. In this fashion, you'll touch the sky. Strictly for the culture, brand so fine. Dress to impress and show your shine. Strictly for the culture, every day. Step in style in your unique way.
Visit www.strictlyfortheculture.ca.
Backstage whisper. supers and the crowds roar. From matching giants to legends of yore. Devon's wisdom and Duke's keen view. Every episode feels like it's brand new. Devon and Duke bring the heat. Wrestling tales knock you off your seat. Tune in now, don't you be late. Wrestling podcast never